happy Arvo. Thank you so much for joining me today for this spicy video. I'm an American living in Australia, and here are some things I could never get used to if I had to go back to America. Damn, okay. I'm ready. You know what? Hit me with it. And it better not just be like, the tipping culture. I want to be deeply offended by this. Let's go. The limited PTO. Oh, this got messed up. There, we'll just do it like that. The limited paid time off. In Australia, we get 4 weeks of paid plus leave plus heaps of public holidays. Yeah, it's going to be hard to compete with here in America. Obviously, it's up to your job. And a lot of the jobs, I mean, they're not exactly thrilled to be giving their employees a bunch of time off. That's why I kind of like the way Australia does it. And a lot of other countries do it, where it's mandated by law how much time you have to get off. With that said, here in America, 2 weeks is pretty standard, which I don't know. It's kind of interesting because to me, it actually feels like enough. In fact, I've never used the full 2 weeks in a year. But that's probably just because I've grown up, conditioned to think that way, I guess. 4 weeks is crazy. Like, what do you guys do? What do you do for that 4 weeks? Every year? God, you go on vacation. I guess when it says leave, I don't know if that means like paternity or maternity leave or like sick leave but yeah, I guess all of the above. Which in America, I guess, you typically get like 1 or 2 weeks of sick leave. The cruel thing is that the shittier your job is, like the less money you make, it oftentimes correlates to also getting even worse benefits. So it's like a double whammy, Like not only do you not make much money, but you don't get much time off either. So having a good job in America definitely is, that's the way to do it. If you can do it that way, that's how you should do it. Pro tip, pro American tip, don't have a bad job. We've got such a better work/life balance in Australia. Yeah, I think number one kind of feeds into that, right? It kind of feeds into that. It allows you to have, the time to travel and spend more time with your family. Fantastic stuff. And once again, it kind of feels like here in America, that's really tied to how much money you make. Can you afford to have a good work-life balance? Not that the cost of living is any better in Australia, but the fact that you have mandated days off, that's a big thing. And then just the culture in general, I think. Truly some of the best beaches in the world. Unmatched beauty. I freaking love the beach. And to me, to be honest, like when I head down to Florida, whatever, the beaches are amazing. I'm not going to lie. But I will say, you guys are spoiled. You know what I mean? You're spoiled with the beaches. Like, I always remember this comment from an Australian who's like, don't even bother with the Gulf beaches in America, they're shit. And I'm like, wow, that just shows how relative it all is, because I think it's beautiful, when I go to the Gulf, it's beautiful, it's amazing. But to you guys, you're just like, meh, it's kind of garbage. The waves are not impressive in the Gulf, because it's a Gulf. I think that would be something that's really cool. Like going to a nice Australian beach is the big waves. But the Gulf water is nice and kind of like warm. Not warm, but not too cold. I don't know how. I'm going to look that up, actually. I assume the water on the Australian beaches is like not very cold, but I'm just making an assumption there. Okay, I don't know if this is like a weird question. This might be a little bit too obscure for ChatGPT. I don't know. But let's see. I'm asking it for the average beach water at, like a Long Island beach, Destin Beach, which is in Florida, and Sydney Beach. So let's see. Okay, here's the average sea temperatures for the 3 beach regions. Summers in Long Island, 70 degrees. That's pretty cold, right? Like, that's cold. I knew they were cold. I know they're cold. I've been there many times. As opposed to Florida, 86. Sydney, 74 to 78. See, that's actually interesting. See, that's why I looked it up. I wasn't quite sure. Because I know that, the Florida beaches, I think it's because it's in that Gulf, it warms it up for whatever reason. Don't ask me. Ask some scientist or something. But it's actually colder water in the Sydney beaches, not as cold as, like, the East Coast of America. But although, of course, it must be said, that in the heat of the Australian summer, this is probably what you want, you know? Not freezing, but a nice cold dip in the water. I was just interested by that. Anyway, let's go. Let's move on. But yeah, the beaches. It's an interesting one because I think America has nice beaches, but your guys's are just kind of next level. Like, they're S tier, you know? You don't really get better beaches, do you? I don't know. Than in Australia. Aussie cafe culture is top notch, can't be beat. What is this stuff? What is that? That's served at a cafe? I'm kind of confused. I associate cafe with like coffee. I don't even know what that is. Like maybe a sandwich or something at a cafe. Like this. That looks like cafe food. What is that? I didn't know you had like fine dining at the cafe. But of course also the coffee. The coffee in Australia. You know, you guys rave about it. I do wonder if it's got something to do with just a different difference in taste and like culture. Because over here in America we put sugar in everything. Like we have sugar in our bread and shit. So we are like desensitized to it probably. And so we need our coffee extra sweet. And the rest of the world thinks it's garbage. I don't know if there's something to that. Or if just your guys' coffee is just objectively better. Let's see. Can't speak for everywhere, but we feel so safe where we live. Yeah, I mean, that's a huge one. This is something that I see pop up all the time. And it's also in contrasted, you know, to like America, where, I mean, of course, it depends where you are. Like, for instance, where I'm at right here, in my little section of America, I feel perfectly safe. But with that said, there are many parts that are not safe. And with everybody potentially having a gun, yeah, I mean, yeah. You can feel on edge. And, you know, when a situation goes bad, you might feel on edge. Certainly here in America, and you don't have to worry about that nearly as much in Australia. Our kids can also go to school and not be afraid. Ooh, I mean, that hurts. That hurts, but we kind of deserve that, huh? The kind of funny thing is, I don't think it's the kids that are afraid. Like, I was never afraid in school of, like, a shooting. It's the parents. And now that I am a parent, I feel that. You know what I mean? And I mean, in general, I can be a little bit paranoid about those types of situations. And so I just know there's going to be days when my kids are going off to school, you know, high school especially, where I just might start daydreaming and get some anxiety about that type of scenario playing out. Even though, of course, it's not very likely. Like, I mean, that's kind of an understatement. It's very unlikely, but certainly not unprecedented, like at all, you know? I mean, it feels like it's been a while. I feel like I should knock on some wood after saying that, since like a big school. I don't like saying the full term because YouTube doesn't like it, but you know what I mean. I shouldn't have even said that. We're gonna have one freaking tomorrow. Mark my word, we're gonna have one tomorrow. The worst one ever. I hope not. But it sure would be nice to be a parent in Australia and be able to send your kids off to school and just never have a worry. Welcome to the luckiest country in the world. You know what's interesting? Like, I feel like a lot of foreigners would get upset if an American said this phrase right here. Like, you know, we're the luckiest in the world, we live in America. But I don't feel that way at all reading that, like when someone says that about their country, and especially Australia. I don't know why it doesn't, like, I think that's great. I love to see people happy and happy with where they live and proud of their nation. So, yeah, that's awesome. Evidence of how well the Australian Aboriginal people have taken care of the land. Okay, some Aboriginal love. I'm trying to figure out exactly, are we talking about the beaches? I'm thinking back to the slideshow, like what are we referencing here? But yeah, the Aboriginals are freaking badasses, so shout out to them. And they certainly appreciate the land. I hitchhiked through Australia for 3 months as a colored 22-year-old in 1987. What does that even mean, a colored 22? Does it mean like they're black? Is that what that means? I feel weird, like even like trying to interpret that, but I think that's what that means. Anyway, the friendliest and the nicest people. I never felt unsafe. I remember the XXX beer and Jimmy Barnes. Best times on the East Coast. That's awesome. Don't forget Huntsman Spiders and Magpie swooping season, LOL. Yeah, you got to add that to the list. You move to America, you'd just be so disappointed to be able to go on a bike ride. I mean, you're not going to have very many bike lanes or anything to go on a bike ride. But, you know, you find a bike trail, you go down it, and you don't even have the magpie swooping at your helmet. It's just not the same. I'm also an American expat. A few metrics for why I pick Australia 100 times over America. Democracy index score. Okay. That's a cool reason. You know, I love some democracy. And I do like that it's compelled voting in Australia. Woman's bodily autonomy. Okay. You know, that's a subject. It's an interesting one. I mean, it's only interesting because up until recently, for a long time, Roe v. Wade had set a court precedent where abortions were fully legal. Now that was overturned, and it's up to the states now. And now, in any given state, there's tons of different... The laws vary hugely by state to state, okay, is what I'm trying to say. From, like, very restricted to fully legal like it was. Anyway, I don't know what it is in Australia, is my point, as far as abortions. It is legal in all states and territories with no federal laws. It seems like from state to state, the main difference is, well, which week they'll do it surgically. Anywhere from 16 to 24. And then how many doctors need to approve it? Usually 2 doctors need to approve it. In Western Australia, a panel of 6 doctors. Wow. Interesting. Oh, that's for late term. My bad. That's for late term, guys. For up to this, a lot of these places you don't need any approval. Okay. Infant mortality rate. Australia's was 3.1 per 1,000, whereas America's was 5.6. Wow, damn. Why is that? The all-knowing AI, guys. Handful of reasons. Worse prenatal care access. Much higher. So prenatal visit screenings and early pregnancy interventions are uneven because of insurance barriers and cost. Got it. So once again, it's the insurance bullshit here in America. And, you know, the mortality rate I'm sure varies significantly depending on if you're one of the people who gets a bunch of screening done, like my family had the, you know, luxury of doing, and someone who, unfortunately, very unfortunately, cannot afford to do that because it's America and you gotta pay. Anyway, another reason, the U.S. has much higher rates of preterm births. Why is that? Better maternal health care, nutrition, and earlier intervention. Wow. That's pretty messed up. I guess that's kind of like also just indicative of the same reasons why there's a higher infant mortality rate in general. And then healthcare inequality. Okay, wow, that's pretty messed up. Literacy rate. I'm sorry, that's kind of a funny one because it's just like, yeah, the people here are more literate. Australia and USA have similar very high literacy rates. Australia at 99 and USA at 99. Access to public education. I mean, obviously we do have public education here in America. Are we talking about college? I mean, I know you guys have better programs as far as paying for college. Food quality. Separation of church and state. Frankly, kind of a weird one considering the USA pioneered that idea. And I know some people might take issue with me saying that. I'm sorry. But I'm just trying to be honest. I spelled pioneer wrong. Yes, the U.S. was the first major nation to formally build separation of church and state into its founding framework. Now, of course, you can critique how it's doing that in practice in some areas. The tipping. Yeah, I knew I would see that. I'm surprised I didn't see that up until now. The tipping. Australia is the greatest country on earth. We are so blessed. Ayo, ayo, oh, 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 oh. All right, that was fun. That was fun. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.